everyone, I'm Nikki Haverstock, and this is the Author 2 portion of my channel, and today I'm going to talk about vision boards. When I went to go do a vision board, it was almost 2 years ago, it was right before 2019. I'd never done them before, I've heard people talk about them, and I was like, maybe I'll try something new. Even though it seemed to me kind of woo-woo, like a little too hippy-dippy for me. I'm very science-based and stuff, but I want to try new things. And so I switched the layout because I want you to be able to see this. I know you can't read it, but in my description, I have my link. Virtually 98% of all of the images here are on my Pinterest board labeled 2019. So if you want, click in the link to go to my Pinterest board. You can kind of navigate around and you can see what I did. So when I went to do a vision board, I kind of Googled about like how to do a vision board. And what I found was that there wasn't a lot of like concrete, like here's the purpose of it. And people were like, do whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, I can do whatever I want without a blog post telling me to do whatever I want. I want a starting spot. So what I started to do, one of the reasons that I use Pinterest has an excellent recommendation engine. That is primarily what they are. They say if you pin this, people are likely to pin this, and they suggest it to you. Which means once you kind of get started with what you want, it's going to suggest more of that. And so I would say about half of the, so I have a second one here. This is my book one. This is the one I've used a lot more and I found to be really successful for me. But that may have a lot to do with the fact that a lot of the growth that I want to see in my life is here. So this is my life one. This is my book one. I went to an old-fashioned Staples kind of place, bought a poster board, bought actually two. I bought some letters. Up here says books, but you don't need that. And then I started pinning. And so I started a board. 2019, I started pinning stuff, and then every day Pinterest sends you, if you have it set up this way, will send you, here's more recommendations based on what you've recently pinned. And so I would go in and I would pin a whole bunch of new stuff. And I found things that I didn't know about that I ended up going, oh, that's perfect. So for me, I started out with Pinteresting some writers that I look up to, quotes. So Tina Fey quotes. Mindy Kaling quotes, Amy Poehler quotes, Stephen King quotes, things like that. You get the idea. And started putting stuff down. I'm also religious, I'm a Christian, and so I also started with a couple of verses. You might look to people you idolize, you might look to historical figures, current figures, things like that, to start with. And so I got a lot of quotes. Steve Martin, thankfully perseverance is a great substitute for talent. A lot of my quotes relate back to hard work and perseverance because I don't feel that I am a naturally talented writer. I think that I think I'm naturally creative and kind of funny, maybe a good storyteller, but my grammar's a little lower. And so I think if you took all the parts that make a writer and evened them out, I would be average. There you go. But I can work hard and I can outlast other people and I want this and things like that. So a lot of my quotes reinforce Dorothy Parker, I hate writing, but I love having written. It's a pretty famous writing quote. You just do writing quotes. Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm, Winston Churchill. You only fail if you stop writing, Ray Bradbury. Bitches know how to get stuff done, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I have the Man in the Arena, which is a famous quote by Teddy Roosevelt, how he talks about it's not the crowd that matters, it's the man in the arena. If you've never read it, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man has stumbled. It's a great quote when you're dealing with criticism. But you'll never be perfect, but perfect is overrated. Perfect is boring, Tina Fey. So I have a lot of things in there that relate to my personal struggles. So that's a really good starting point. And like I said, once you pick out a couple of verses, nothing can stop God's plan for your life, Isaiah 14:27, things like that, it'll suggest more. It'll say people who pin this are likely to also pin this. And so that's a great way to start. So I have a lot of those to begin with. Then I went through and I said, what are some things that I want to do? This is where a lot of my life stuff is. If you were to look over here, there's a clean garage, because when I did this, we had the shell of a garage, but it wasn't insulated. There was nothing in it. all that kind of thing. Organized, organized kitchen. I have some things in here about how to incorporate meditation and quiet time into your day, how to incorporate beating your cell phone addiction, minimalism, and decluttering your life, a couple of my stuff. So, but like over here, you can't really see it, but I wanted to get into audiobooks. So I looked up audiobook images and I pulled up just a couple of things, how to write in coffee shops, best narrated audiobooks, what mic to use, stuff like that, just to kind of be like, so I could see this. So when I'm writing here, and I'm right-handed and here's my mouse, my eyes come over here a lot. I have a bunch of pictures of dragons because I had a book that I hadn't written yet that I wanted to incorporate a dragon into. Over here, which is now covered by Post-it notes of other things I need to do, are space images, because at the time I was putting this together, I was thinking about writing a space cozy. I've since written it. It's also down in the description if you want to check it out. But I put things that were kind of scary to me. So at the time, space cozies aren't really a genre. There are some people doing it. There's some space comedies, obviously. But there's no one, there are only a handful of people doing what I wanted to do. It's not a set genre. There's not a huge readership. So it was scary to me. And I kind of was like, I wasn't sure if I could do something like that, if I was going to talk myself out of it. I can do it, but would I let myself do it? And so I put specific things. If you are writing your first book, maybe you put pictures of, like, you go and you search like how to self-publish, and you get a bunch of images that when you're sitting here writing and you kind of go, maybe I shouldn't do that. You see that picture of that hardcover. You see that picture of the paperback. You see 50 ways to sell your ebooks, like whatever kind of images. And you look at it and you go, no, this is important to me. Poetry, whatever. And so I did that, and I started, I think I would need to see, I might say when this tab was, doesn't say when it was first made, but I think I started it in like November, October, maybe it was December, maybe I did it all in 1 month. But I kind of added stuff, and then I thought about it throughout the day. The nice thing about the Pinterest is you can do it as an app on your phone. No one has to see it. You can make it a quiet board. You can go to My 2019, steal as many pins as you want, and you can have it be private. You can set it to secret so nobody has to know. If you want, that can be your whole vision board. You don't need to show anyone. I like having it because I catch myself looking at it when I'm sitting there frustrated with my writing. It's always there. My eyeball's always seen it. Now, maybe I'm seeing through it, but I can't tell you how many times I'll read a quote I've read 1,000 times and feel this renewed spark in me. I feel it go off. I feel it's, you know, I consider myself to be a comedy writer. I'm not always that funny, but for some reason that's really important to me. And I see this, thankfully, perseverance is a good substitute for talent. With Steve Martin, who's considered one of the best stand-ups of all times. He stopped when he was at the absolute peak. He was just amazing. And I think I can persevere. Like, that's something within my ability. I'm stubborn. You know what I mean? So I can read that quote, and every single time it feels like this person I respect, who's so smart and incredible, sees in me something special. That's not what happened. He doesn't know me. But I have that. Same with the Dorothy Parker. I hate writing, but I love having written. And someone like me who has a very contentious relationship with writing, and sometimes it feels like torture, I figure, she's amazing. She's incredibly talented. And so if somebody else who's that talented can have that sensation of I hate writing, but I love having written, then I'm not in bad company. Okay, so you got your pins. I think, I don't know how many pins are on here, but I have a bunch. So then I also included, you can just Google tutorial for printing out a Pinterest board. There's 100 of them. I found the one that I used, and it doesn't work perfectly. So basically what you do is you go to your board, you scroll up and down, you save that page as you just save it on your computer, and all of those images is saved. They don't have any names, any numbers, and in my case, it didn't save all of them. So I might say, if you go nuts like I did, you might have a hard time getting them all printed out. So it might be better to have like 2021 part A, 2021 part B, 2021. Anyway, you print them all out, and then in the folder you can select all, and you can print them. I printed them. I think it was like 9 images per page or something. But I figured the traditional way that you do a vision board is you get a bunch of magazines and you pull out stuff with magazines. But magazines aren't going to have a bunch of writer quotes. They're not going to have pictures of a dragon. 4 different pictures of a dragon. Some of them is embroidery, some of them is quilting. They're not going to have Korean gold medalists. They're not going to have, well, actually, Lucy Liu. There's a picture down here of Lucy Liu shooting a bow that I was a technical advisor for as an archer. That actually wasn't a magazine, but it was 15 years ago, so I had to look it up. But anyway, the traditional way you do it is you get a lot of people do is they get a bunch of magazines, they pull out images that speak to them. I feel like I'm not going to find the images that I want in a magazine, but if I did, I would buy $40 worth of magazines. So I'm going to use $40 worth of ink, and I'm not going to be apologetic. I went and I used photo paper, because I have a stack of photo paper that I got with my original printer and I've never ever used. Use that photo paper. If you have photo paper laying around, just go ahead and use it. I printed them all out. I had a special time where I came upstairs and no one was going to bother me, and I had my glue stick and I had my Sharpie and I had my scissors, and I just cut them all out and looked at them and arranged them until I felt like that was good, and then I glued it down. I think it took me 3 or 4 hours, and I was like, oh, this thing better work. But it's actually one of my favorite things in my office. So that is my vision board. That is what I do. There is not a wrong way to do it, but I will tell you, hopefully I gave you enough ideas to where you went, oh, that's what I want to do. And if your vision board is not all books, if your vision board is like health over here, and this is like productivity, and this is school, and maybe this little section is books, that's fine too. Like I said, over here is health and organization and family things and hobbies. I have quilts, I have horse stuff, I have video games, I have local events. So you don't have to do just books. This is just what I did. And then I did a second one for family. But I encourage you to find something, surround yourself with the support, the things that help. Okay, great. So if you have a vision board, if you've done a vision board, if you want to tell me a quote you would put on your vision board to start with, if there's some big task that you would put on your vision board, please tell me in the comments. Okay, bye.